With Captain Marvel, you guys kind of combined some elements of certain comic book stories with this movie, and you also just pulled some moments straight from certain storylines. So I'm curious, when you were coming up with this movie, you're developing it, and you're bringing it to life, how do you choose which elements of the comics to use in the movie?
Just we read a lot and felt like which parts of it we gravitated towards, which things excited us, which elements we felt like we could live with for 2 years. And the most important element is really the character of Carol Danvers, and like this particular version of the character, which really was inspired by Kelly Sue DeConnick's.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, I mean, it's comics, there's reboots all the time, there's different versions of characters all the time. In terms of the personality for Carol, was it Kelly Sue's who you really wanted to hone in on, and what elements of that personality did you really want to come through?
Her humor, her grit, but also just her humanity and her relationships with other women that she wrote so well. There are moments in those comics that aren't about action at all and are just about, feeling the emotion of, the death of a friend, or and those are the moments that stick with me as much as, the action-oriented kick-ass moments.
I love the Kelly Sue DeConnick run. It's so good. The standout, I don't know if you guys have been reading Twitter, the standout has been Goose the Cat. So I'm sure you've talked plenty about Goose, but I'm curious how you brought Goose to life on set. How much was a real cat? How much was computerized? How do you do that?
Good question.
Yeah, it is a good question. There's a lot of the real cat in there, Reggie and his team, but it's mostly Reggie. There were 3 other backup cats that we would use every now and then, but most of the movie is Reggie. If somebody's holding the cat, sometimes that's Reggie, but sometimes that's a CG cat.
Depending on what special things the cat had to do.
What Goose is up to in that moment. Yeah.
And also, there are moments when people don't always treat Goose as nicely as they should, in which case we never used a real cat.
Never hold a cat by the scruff of their neck, right? But some bad guys in the movie do that, and that's not.
Especially my cat. My cat, not friendly. That it would kill you. But this movie also is kind of like a history lesson for the MCU in a lot of ways. It also opens a lot of doors about the past in the MCU. If we're to go back to this world, do you think the future for Captain Marvel might be in the past?
Whoa. Blew my mind with that question.
No, it's interesting that you say that, because the very first Kelly Sue DeConnick Captain Marvel comic I read is like traveling through the past, and almost like a rewriting of her origin story, which this has some elements of that in.
Also, while you mentioned Kelly Sue DeConnick again, in her issue number 14 with Captain Marvel, she hid Kamala Khan in a frame. I'm curious, did you guys maybe hide that very popular character somewhere in this movie by any chance?
If we did, how could we tell you?
I need to know! Okay, let me ask you this, though. At this movie, I mean, Brie Larson had to grow up very quickly with this role, because obviously she goes on to Avengers Endgame from here. I'm curious if you guys had to collaborate with the Russo brothers in any way, or just the overarching MCU, because there's so many puzzle pieces when you're making a standalone film in an interconnected world. How did you guys do that?
A little bit, yeah. They invited us to the Infinity War set, and we obviously Captain Marvel's not in that one, but we talked to them about some of our plans for the movie, and they didn't tell us much about their plans for theirs, but
so don't try to get anything out of us.
But it was fun. It was great because they've done a number of these movies, and they were able to sort of teach us the ropes a little bit, and we were able to describe the character that we wanted Carol Danvers to be, and they were psyched about it. So yeah.